All right, everybody, good morning. Back to business as usual for at least one day. We're going to continue to take a look at these outgoing Seahawks free agents. And when it comes time to shift gears because we've hired X, Y, and Z, then we will do that. But the show must go on. And today we're going to be taking a look at an outgoing free agent tight end, Noah Fant. So this one's tricky. And this one is going to be rather difficult to explain, I think, because I suspect that Noah Fant is going to be desirable to somebody this offseason, and I suspect that he will be desirable enough to give way more money than we as Seahawks fans are expecting, because we've seen Noah Fant the last two seasons for the Seahawks produce nothing too radically amazing. Admittedly, right? Like, we've seen Noah Fant play the last 2 years. There have been some good things. I don't think he's dropped a pass. Maybe he's dropped like one pass in 2 years. I think he's missed maybe one game in 2 years. And he's not been bad. He's been better than expected as a blocker as well. And there's clearly talent here. I think we can all agree on that, but the production just hasn't really been where we as Seahawks fans were maybe expecting when we acquired him in that trade. So I think there's an amount that some Seahawks fans are expecting, because I've gotten a lot of comments lately about Noah Fant, people saying, we got to bring him back now. We got to bring him back. Now that we are going to have a new offensive coach, we're going to have a new head coach. We might have a new quarterback. I don't think we will, but we could, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to be using tight ends more. Noah Fant's really good. I don't disagree with any of those statements. I think there's some truth there. But how much is it going to cost to bring Noah Fant back? So, in order to answer that, we need to look at what other tight ends in a somewhat similar boat are getting. Because Noah Fant, even though he's been in the league for 5 years now, he is coming off his rookie deal. Remember, we exercised the fifth-year option on him after the trade. And he's just coming off that rookie deal where he made $12.5 million. So he is looking to cash in. That's number one. Noah Fant, whatever he's going to do this offseason is probably going to be revolved around, I want to get as much money as possible so I can set up my family for life. He's only 26, still young. He's going to be 26 when the season starts. First round pick in 2019, so he's got a high pedigree. Iowa, of all places, tight end U. So there's a lot working in his favor that you might not really see if you just look at the numbers. So if you go to Noah Fant's PFR page, you can see that over the last 2 years, he has been a good player for the Seahawks, but he doesn't really stand out. And by the way, he's played in every game, hasn't missed a game as a Seahawk. He doesn't stand out in any radical way, obviously. Over 2 seasons, so that's 34 games, he's got 82 catches, 900 yards, and 4 touchdowns. There are tight ends out there that do that in 1 season. There are tight ends out there that do that in, 12, 13 games. So those numbers are not great. However, like I said, he doesn't drop passes. He's been better than expected as a blocker. His catch rate has been really good. He's efficient when he is targeted. Like last year, there were only 11 incomplete passes on targets to Noah Fant in 17 games. So I don't think the numbers are going to tell you the full picture here. He's better than that. And more importantly, when he was in Denver, he was putting up better numbers. 2021, 2020, he had almost 700 yards each of those seasons. So when he came to Seattle, something changed a little bit. And I don't think it was him. I don't think he suddenly forgot how to play football. I don't think he suddenly went, I'm going to be a backup tier tight end now. I'm going to be a mediocre, low-end starter type tight end. No, he just wasn't thrown to as much, and he wasn't utilized in the same way that Denver was utilizing him. So Noah Fant, I think that there are going to be teams out there that look at Noah Fant and go, his numbers are a product of his usage in Seattle, and if we get him, we can count on production more in line with what he was doing in Denver the previous 2 years, maybe even a little beyond that, because he was still a very young player those 2 years in Denver where he put up almost 700 yards each season. So I would not be surprised if he's getting paid based off his last 2 years in Denver rather than his last 2 years in Seattle. Now, that being said, let's try to find some comparisons for Noah Fant in play to try to estimate what his pay could be. So if you go to Spotrac, you sort tight end contracts by average annual value. We are going to blow past the first few guys here because there's no way Noah Fant's going to become one of the highest paid tight ends in the league. I don't believe that. So guys like Darren Waller, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, that's not happening. Those contracts are not really things we're going to look at when trying to figure this out. Goddard, Mark Andrews, same thing. However, and I think this is actually an apt comparison, more apt than some people would think, what about Evan Engram, who last year was given a 3-year deal worth $13.75 million a year by the Jacksonville Jaguars? So let's remember these numbers here. 3 years, $41.25 million. That's Evan Engram. What did he do to earn that contract? Well, the difference between Evan Engram and Noah Fant is that he had a contract season. He had almost 800 yards in 2022. He had a nice year in 2022 for sure. But before then, he was kind of regarded in the same way that Noah Fant is, right? He had a couple standout seasons. His rookie year was nice. He made the Pro Bowl in 2020. But other than that, it's like, 400-yard season, 500-yard season, almost 600-yard season. So his time in New York was kind of regarded as a disappointment. He was a first-round pick, like Noah Fant, and he went into New York and I think left most Giants fans unhappy with him by the time he left because, unlike Noah Fant, he's got terrible hands. He dropped everything. So I'm looking at Evan Engram. I don't think we're there yet, but I think the comparison is a little better than some people are going to assume. Like, you can make a pretty compelling argument that Evan Engram and Noah Fant should be evaluated in much the same way right now at the end of their rookie deals. So he got the 1-year deal from Jacksonville, proved it. Now Noah Fant didn't prove it, so I don't think we're there yet, but we're getting there. And the next guy on this list, number 8, David Njoku, gets just over $13.5 million over 4 years. That's almost $55 million from Cleveland. What did he do to get that kind of money from the Browns? Well, you can see that he did kind of sort of have that big breakout year. The contract was signed, after 2021, after he got paid. But before he got paid, his breakout year was 2018. That was a distant memory by the time his contract extension came up. So you're looking at 2019 when he barely played. You've got 2020, he had 200 receiving yards. And then 2021, he had less than 500 receiving yards, less than 40 catches, 4 touchdowns, and he gets shown the big bucks. So based off potential, based off talent, based off past production, and I mean distant past production by that point, he gets paid $13.5 million a year. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, Noah Fant had a season just like this 2018. Noah Fant had a season where he had over 600 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. So we're not far away already. Like, you look at this, it's not a bad comparison. It really isn't, especially when you consider all the extracurriculars on Fant, because he is a pretty good blocker, because he does have really good hands. And then the next guy on the list, number 9, Dawson Knox, gets 4 years, 52. So that's $13 million a year flat for Dawson Knox going into the 2022 season. So what did he do in 2021 and prior? He didn't have any seasons above 600 yards. He did catch a lot of touchdowns in 2021, but other than that, what else? Did he do anything that Noah Fant didn't do? Like, Noah Fant had 2 seasons better than this in Denver. Before 2021, Knox had 2 kind of forgettable seasons, just kind of like almost Will Dissly type seasons, caught less than 400 yards, less than 300 yards, and then he has 1 pretty decent season, and he gets shown the big dollars. And again, I think Noah Fant can go to the negotiation table and say, look, I should be in the same boat. I'm close to the same age. I'm more of a blue chipper than Dawson Knox was, right? Dawson Knox was a 3rd-round pick. So we might already be there, guys. That's kind of my hang-up on the Noah Fant thing. This is not going to be cheap. If you keep going down the list here, you got Cole Kmet, who last year got 4 years, 50, so $12.5 million a year. Cole Kmet, this was a 2nd-round pick, by the way, so not as much of a blue chipper in terms of raw talent as Fant. And you look at his numbers, you look at the seasons he had, the last 2 years he had have a lot in common with the seasons that Fant had in Denver. Breakout year, 600 yards, no touchdowns for whatever that's worth, but 60 catches. And then the year prior to getting his extension, 50 catches, 544 yards. A lot of touchdowns, I guess, but what's here that Noah Fant doesn't also bring to the table? And just to kind of wrap up the conversation here, I want to go down to Hayden Hurst, who last offseason, this guy was older, by the way, than Noah Fant, got $7.25 million a year over 3 years. And Hayden Hurst, now he was a blue chipper, he was a first round pick, but that was, he's older now than Fant is for sure. And he had never had a 600-yard season. He had actually amassed about 630 yards combined over the previous 2 seasons before he got the extension. His 2 seasons prior to getting that contract from Carolina were not as good, really, as the seasons that Fant's had in Seattle. So we've definitely gone too far here. There's no way that Noah Fant's not going to make more than what Hayden Hurst got last year. So unless the market is just wacky this offseason for tight ends, and I don't believe that it will be, I look at Noah Fant, and I'm kind of thinking that if he wants to make every dollar he can, and he finds a team that has some kind of desire for a starting tight end, he could probably get somewhere around what Dawson Knox got, so $13 million a year. Maybe it would be a 3-year deal instead of a 4-year deal. Maybe there would be a prove-it deal out there, but even if it's a prove-it deal, I think it's going to be for significant money. So we are definitely talking 8 figures, but I feel like Noah Fant could go out there and get like 3 years, $39 million from some team that needs him. So 3 years, $39 million for a player that I like, but I'm looking at this tight end list. I'm looking at what these guys are getting paid, and I don't know if I have full confidence that Noah Fant's going to be worth that. Now, if I'm wrong and he gets paid purely based off his production the last 2 years, maybe you could get that down to like $10 million a year. You know, that's like a little beyond Higbee, but a little behind Komet. Maybe then you're talking about something like 3 years, $30 million. That's a little more palatable, especially if we get an offense in here that really wants to utilize Noah Fant the way that he's probably meant to be utilized. But I still don't know. The only thing that kind of makes me think I would do it is this tight end class, draft-wise, is not great after the top, I'd say top 1, maybe top 2. So my best guess would be something like 3 years, 39. 3 years, $39 million, $13 million a year. Maybe there will be kind of low guarantee so you can get out of it after a year somewhat easily and 2 years really easily. But I don't think I can do that. I don't feel like I can pony that up right now when I've got so many other contracts I need to get off the books here. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe you guys see it a different way. I don't see any way it's less than 10 mil a year. Maybe it'll be a prove-it deal as well, but that's not good either because then you have to put it all into that first year. You can't backload it at all. That's not really good. So either way, I just don't feel great about this. And if it is the upper limit of what I think he could get, which is about 13, maybe even 14 million a year, but probably around 13, I don't think I can do it. I just don't think I can make that investment there. I'd rather just cross my fingers on Brock Bowers falling to 16 on draft day, and then I've got somebody who's probably better than Noah Fant right off the bat or very close to it for way less money. But this one's kind of complicated, and I understand that some people are going to say, oh, Noah Fant, $5 million a year. But I'm not seeing any reason to believe that's going to happen, unless he loves it in Seattle. And he's got to go get paid. He hasn't been paid yet. All right, catch you guys later. Go Hawks. Later today, we're going to look at another Seahawks outgoing free agent, but that is my view on Noah Fant as of right now.